Hey y'all, it's Catherine Needham here, talking to you today about shadow work. I talk about it a lot. I reference it in almost every post and every comment. So I wanted to come online and answer any questions that you have about this work, and I'll talk about it a little bit too. But really, what questions do you have about shadow work? Our shadows, to understand what shadow work is, you have, hello, somebody joined. Hey there. We're talking about shadow work. We're talking about healing and the introspection that you have to do to heal some of those wounds from the past, especially those ancestral wounds. I've written a book called Healing Through Shadow Work that I talk about all the time, all the time. So if there are any questions, please pop them into this live. I usually go live on Facebook, and this is my second time going live on TikTok. So still trying to figure it out. What I'd really like to know is, do these get recorded, and how do you record them? How do you do that? Hey, folks who are joining. My name's Catherine. I'm here talking about shadow work, and I wanted to answer questions. A lot of people don't even know what to ask because they're like, well, what is it? Healing in capitalism is the only way to true liberation. What does that mean? Okay. I'm like, any kind of healing's good for me. Yeah, healing capitalism, to me, capitalism is about greed. We've lost our connection to our hearts. We've lost our connection to empathy. Well, we've lost our empathy, which causes us to lose our connection with others. It prevents us from understanding other people on deep levels. It prevents us from having any kind of compassion for their pain and suffering. So we all have to do the work. This isn't a black-white thing. This is everybody in the whole world has to do this work. The reason that we do it, though, is that so we can reconnect first and foremost with the deepest parts of ourselves, our spirit, our soul. Unless you believe you don't have a spirit or a soul, then maybe shadow work isn't for you. Healing in a capitalistic existence. Yes, it can be very, very hard. Like I've been saying, I'm a very spiritual person, but I don't talk about my specific spiritual beliefs a lot. I'm not one of those spiritual community people. I don't talk about chakras, although I believe in them, and I've worked on healing my chakras, and I do all that kind of, but I don't talk about that. I don't talk about ascension, because I believe we've kind of twisted the idea of it, and people are getting lost in the intellectualism of ascension and not really understanding that there's a heartfelt connection to something higher, something greater, that you have to have. And that's the approach that I take to shadow work. So our shadows were, the terms shadow work came from Carl Jung. He was a psychoanalyst back in the 30s. And he said that we project parts of these unhealed, he called it the dark aspects of our personality, that we project that onto other people. And it's true. So what I did was I took that concept and I just took it to the next level. I took it through my own experience and how I was perceiving and blah, blah, blah. And I look at it through a lens of the spirit. I wrote a book about it. It's real simple. It's short, guys. 150 pages. But it has exercises in it, prompts. We talk about, you hear shadow work and you hear the word journal prompts a lot. Shadow work is not just journal prompts. Again, that's where we can kind of get into just intellectualizing a concept and I just need to answer questions about myself. Of course, that is part of it. Inner reflection is a part of it. But the way I look at it is you're first healing your spirit. It's not a 1, 2, 3, do this, do that. But that's a big part of this, is healing your own spirit, because we, hurt people, basically. We project that pain onto others in everything that we do, and we don't. The thing with shadow work and why it's called that is you can't see it. You can't see your behavior. You can't see that you are projecting your own insecurities onto other people, for example, in your daily speech, in your replies and your comments, that kind of thing, and how you interact with people. Is it hairy? Show the book slower. Okay, sorry. I think it's coming backwards, though. Sorry. Is it? I can't tell. I don't know, guys. Healing Through Shadow Work. It's on Amazon. It's on my website. Links in the bio. So I appreciate everyone who's here. I just, I see very many faces here. I joined this Black Girl Follow train, and I hope you stick around just to hear my thoughts on it, because I've seen so many different points of view about it. For it's like, we're Black people and we need our own this and our own that. I wasn't that, and I am not still that person, but I am somebody that needs support, and it's something that as I've gotten older, I'm 52 now. You start seeing it. You live a life. You have experiences, and for me, this is about just getting some support, the support that I needed. I have a group on Facebook. You're welcome to join. It's called Healing Through Shadow Work. I'm not on Facebook much anymore ever since I discovered TikTok. But that's where I have a lot of information, and there's daily posts. People go in every day talking about things that they're working on, relationships. Relationships is a big part of it. Swipe right to something. It's too much. It's hard. It's easier on Facebook. There's like too many little pictures. I'm getting old, y'all. Sorry. Good morning. I'm talking about shadow work. Well, I'm trying to. Haven't gotten deep into it yet. And my book, Healing Through Shadow Work. I had mentioned this Black Girl Follow train only because I followed back a lady who's not Black. I'm like, okay, I didn't want to make a huge deal of it. But the issue is the behavior. And so that's what I want to focus on. I'm not trying to call people out as this or that, you're racist or whatever. It's not about that. It is about ignorance. It's about not having a connection with people. It's about not knowing yourself on deep levels and not facing some of that pain within yourself. So a lot of this, I started this work just trying to heal my marriage. We're separated now. We're on our way to divorce. It's been 2 years. But, I just wanted to stop arguing. I wanted to stop having the same argument that we were having and the same pattern that was happening even with my kids. We would all just get into this ugly fighting. It was so weird. And I just started watching it. I'm like, what's triggering me? And I started that work on my own. I found out it was called shadow work. But I've always been very spiritual and introspective. I've always kind of looked at my behavior anyway. So the way I wrote the book, it's for people that maybe don't have a spiritual background, because, and again, it's not spiritual or religious, but the core of it is connecting with your spirit, and you have to find ways to do that. I can tell you, I have a way that I do. I follow a guru. I have for 30 years. I don't talk about it because it's about your behavior. It's about how you treat people out in the world, and it's about how you treat yourself. And you're usually treating other people. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. She said, I saw shadow work. I'm invested. So it's something that people I got into this about 6 years ago when again, just my own trying to work out my issues with my family. And then noticing how I was like, oh, wow. The interaction with my daughter and how she triggered me and how she was bringing the things that she could say that was took me back to being 10 years old. I'm like, our children really trigger us, but our children can teach us. Our children can help us reconnect with our inner child and heal all that stuff. So, what am I getting at here? Shadow work. Who has a question about shadow? I'm supposed to be answering questions, not yammering. A lot of folks in here. No questions. Okay, I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep talking until somebody tells me to stop talking, because I'll talk all day. Anyway, I did post something. I did post a video for this lady, and I'm like, it's insulting. This is for me, Healing Through Shadow Work, my book. I'm going to throw this up here a bazillion times. But what I realized at the end of this journey, at the end of writing it, I started writing it in 2019. I started getting the vision of what this message was. I'm still trying to get it out coherently. But I really started getting all that information. And it wasn't until 2021 that I self-published it. But I did that through, my mom died that year, and I'm still working through that. It was in 2021, so coming up on 2 years. But to me, it proved that what I have in this book is really just a framework. I'm not telling my story. It's not Catherine Saab's story and how she healed her pain. Maybe I should do that. It's kind of, I call it agnostic. You can be people call themselves witches. You can be a fundamentalist Christian. It doesn't matter. We don't have to talk about that because we're working on healing our behaviors. We're working on how we treat people. So a big part of this is healing. Excuse me. what's the right words I'm trying to say here? Learning how to accept and love yourself. That's really important. Where can we find my book? You can find it on Amazon. There's also information on my website, which the link is in my bio. Russia is with me. My name is Amina. I'm from, hello, welcome. I actually have been, I sell a few books every month. It's not like I'm not getting rich yet. I did a calculation. I think I need 147,000 people to buy my book to make $1 million or to make something ridiculous. Let's start that train. So I work, and in the minutes between working, taking care of my daughter, being a single mom, starting my life over, dealing with my mother's death, I wrote a book, and it's good. It's good because it breaks things down. It breaks it down into like the way that we can face and heal this pain from the past so that we stop projecting it onto others, so that we learn what loving ourselves really means. It means we are able to speak authentically to others. We are able to express our feelings without yelling and hurting each other. We have to do it from a heart-centered place. I'm always talking about being heart-centered. So that's the approach that I take. And it starts with understanding what you believe in, understanding your beliefs. A lot of people will come into my group on Facebook. I have a group on Facebook. I'm not trying to lure people over there, but I'm just saying, like, some people prefer that medium for, I don't know, reading stuff. I like the videos. But a lot of people will come in saying that, they have an issue with their parents, or they're estranged from their parents, or they're waking up. A lot of people are waking up right now. And waking up is just you have a shift in perspective. And it's so significant that you're like, oh, wow, I never saw that. It's the same thing that has been there the whole time, and you're seeing it in a new way. I'm in the process where I'm learning to love myself. It is not easy. It's not easy. Like I said, I followed a spiritual master. His name is Satya Sai Baba, starting in my 20s and kind of off and on. And then I got married and decided, and my marriage started going downhill. And I was like, God, where are you? Forget it. I'm not doing the spiritual stuff anymore. And that just took me down into the real depths of darkness. So for me, it's been a way this work has taught me that you need some sort of spiritual base. You need a foundation. You are the foundation, really. You and your connection to spirit. And that is whatever it is you believe in. You might believe in God. You might just say, I believe in God. And that's your thing that lifts you up, gives you faith, gives you that feeling of gratitude. We got to practice gratitude as well. You might believe in nature. But it's that feeling of love. It's just love. However you can get yourself into that feeling of love. And like that was one of the things I got when people started joining this train, the Black Girl train. I was like, I don't know. Here we go again. Like, to me, it felt like we were trying to be exclusive. I don't know why, but that's what it felt like at first. And I can see why people have that reaction, because you don't know. And, check it out. Become a part of it. Look at it. Watch the videos that are coming across. It's been very affirming for me, and I just feel a support in a way I've never felt supported. I feel like people are actually looking at my content and actually listening. There's some good stuff in here, guys. So I'm hoping in 2023 I can, the folks that I'm meeting through this train, there are some smart people out there doing stuff. It's so impressive. But getting the help that I need. So 2022 for me was about understanding that I need to ask for help. We all need to have that understanding, especially if you are somebody who has been fiercely independent, knowing when to ask for help. So welcome to those who are joining. We're talking about shadow work. I don't know if is there anybody here that has not heard of shadow work? Oh yeah, you felt the massive shift. Yes, it resurrected me. That's what I want. The people that just don't understand it, that are critiquing and mocking, there's empathy, there's a level of compassion that you are missing, because you're cut off from that empathy because you're so focused on a negative aspect of something. And all it takes is a shift in perspective. But for many people to get that shift, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to look at yourself in a way that you've never maybe considered before. You got to look at your patterns, because shadows are things that we can't see about ourselves, those behaviors. And so to get to that behavior, we look at our beliefs, we look at the patterns in our family, we look at how we've been treating people. And so you can look at negative patterns, but I also tell people to look at your positive patterns. What are some things in your family that are positive traits that are passed down? That's where you gain your strength. That's what you tap into. So, pausing for a breath. And coffee. Good morning, everybody. I didn't say good morning. I just started yammering on. I'm having some coffee. Guys, I don't get dressed up for TikTok either. I'm like, maybe that's the problem. I don't want to wear makeup. I don't want to right now. Or do my hair. Well, I washed my hair. But, don't have my nails done. Like, that's the thing. Like, when you're watching people as they come across, it's judgment. Judgment's a big thing I talk about in the book. Like, when we're judging other people, it's pointing to something within ourselves that either we're judging really ourselves, because judgment is, when we judge ourselves, there's a measure. I call it the yardstick. I read something online. It's in the book. Like, what is your yardstick when you judge other people? Because whatever that is, that thing that you're judging others by, it is something that you judge yourself against. So loving yourself means looking at that judgment. How am I really judging myself? And if you don't know, go out on TikTok and we all judge people. It's natural. But those ones where you're really just like, something really triggers you, or it's like a visceral reaction, that's the stuff that you got to dig into and be like, where is this coming from? Why, for example, is the black girl follow train triggering me so much? What is it? And so to get to the core of it, to get to the root cause, you have to keep asking yourself why. That's how we do. That's kind of like a basic shadow work technique, I'll say, that I coined, by the way, is getting to the root cause of something. And I pulled into my professional experience using something from process improvement. And I said, you do the 5 whys. You just keep asking why until you get to the end. Usually the root cause is something in our belief. It's a belief that we took on during trauma, during some sort of pain or trauma, especially in childhood. And it doesn't have to be this overt abuse, but it is some form of abuse or abandonment that we all have. Comes out in different ways. Mental, physical, emotional. We all have our unique experiences, but what ties us together is the fact that we are all experiencing forms of abuse and abandonment, and by not addressing them and going within ourselves and getting past that hurt and pain. It's not something to get past. It's something to examine. It's something to sit with. It's something to express emotionally. Cry, get angry, get creative, do something. Don't hurt other people, but we have to learn how to express our emotions. That's a big part of my book too. Another part of learning to love yourself is, like I said, being authentic. What does it mean to be authentic? To me, it means that the things that you're saying, your thoughts and your feelings are in alignment. They're the same. And then the things that you're saying follow that too. So you're not thinking one thing, saying another, feeling angry, but being like, oh, everything's fine. It's that kind of stuff. And I think, what I've noticed, and I wasn't one to ever talk about race. If you know me, or knew me from the past, I just was never, and maybe it's because there are times in my life where I haven't felt part of the Black community, whatever that is. I mean, there's no actual community. It's a shared experience that we can all relate to. It's a shared struggle in some ways. And other people, there are some Black people that don't if you had talked to me about this in my 20s, I don't know if I would have seen it as clearly as I do now. Again, lived experience. I can talk about it all day. Okay, Sabi. Is your name Sabi? I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I'm like, we're going to talk. You and I are just going to have coffee and talk about shadow work. Are you a coach? Are you a spiritual influencer? Or is this something that you're just personally doing? I'm just curious because I do offer a package for coaches. I call it a coaching toolkit. It comes with my book. It comes with templates and things that are already set up to teach you how to teach healing through shadow work. I call it healing through I don't want to say teach shadow work. I'm calling it my brand, which is healing through shadow work. Because again, it's a spiritual approach. It involves forgiving other people. I got to get to my book because I'm jumping around. I'm jumping around. I'm sorry. Yes, you pronounced it right. Okay, good. I've got to keep myself on track or I'll go all over the place. Now, I want to know when you found out about shadow work, because that's another thing. Nobody was talking about this. I started it. I won't say I started it all, but I started a big wave of people getting into this. That's right. I'm taking the credit. Let me look at my book here. Okay, so I'll just go down really quick and just looking in the table of contents. facing our shadows, facing that darkness or unhealed. It's really, I say darkness, but I think it throws people off thinking I'm calling everybody evil. To me, darkness is ignorance. It's things that you're unaware of. It's stuff that is unseen, whether through willful ignorance, which we are seeing a lot of recently, or just you're completely oblivious. Innocent ignorance, I don't know, whatever that's called. So again, the first step in all of this is just acknowledgement. Like, okay, there's something I got to look at here. And so one way to do that is, I said this already, identify your triggers. Start noticing when you get triggered. That's a really big first step. Because we move from, doing this work, we move from a state of, I used to say a victim mindset. That triggered some people by calling them victims. I'm like, okay, we'll say unempowered. Moving from a place of feeling unempowered to a place of empowerment. And of course, like, so from here to here, and then I broke it down into some stages that I noticed on my own journey. But that first stage is like moving out of that victim consciousness to like, oh, I need to start looking at this. And then you start becoming a little more accountable for yourself. And then you start discovering all of these things as you trace, go into your beliefs, look at your relationships, the thoughts and the feelings that come up, learning how to express yourself, learning how to communicate. And then the big thing that I've introduced, a term is called outer work. We have inner work, and then we have outer work. The outer work is putting your beliefs into practice. Being an example of what you believe in. That's it. Go out and go forth and be good. I don't define myself, but it's like I know things without knowing where it comes from. Like a ton of wisdom, knowing things people don't even know. And that's one thing, that's the one thing it's hard to explain unless you're kind of into this. Like, I found that the more, that this work for me very simply helped me strip away everything I was not. I didn't know who I was. I had been everything for everyone, so I didn't know who I was. Still don't know. I'm always evolving, like every day, so. But once you start stripping that stuff away and doing it from that heart center, forgiving yourself, that's another big part. Forgive yourself. Let me go through the things. I went off track, sorry. Identifying your triggers, tracing the triggers to the root cause, which I already talked about. Feelings are going to come up as you're doing this. Sometimes they're not so good. I have a lot of people in my group who say, I have all of this rage. I don't hear that. That's the one difference culturally. I see that a lot with white women. There's a lot of rage. They don't know how to express it. They don't know how to get it out. In fact, I've been living in the South now for 18 years. So I moved from Los Angeles to Charlotte, North Carolina. And all my friends were afraid for me. They're like, why are you moving to the South? Because it's cheaper. That's why? No, it wasn't. There were other reasons. But I'm fine here. I'm not somebody that sees racial issues in every situation because I approach everyone openly. I see your inner child. I know you're speaking through your pain. Okay, that's how I was raised, y'all. I've had a mother and grandmother who were like this. I can't help it. As you start feeling your feelings, learning how to process them, working on forgiveness of yourself, and then learning to let things go, let go of attachment. I personally found that wisdom, it's just clear. It's like you've cleared your connection to whatever. I don't say, for me, it was like I cleared my connection to God. It brought me back to my guru because everything I do, it's like I realized his words have been ringing in my head my whole life. It was all, and he kind of did it was about self-awareness. He used different words. He was Indian, so there's a lot of translated stuff. But yeah, there is a wisdom that will come. And to me, that's like, it's who you are. That's remembering who you are and being able to connect with others, feel their pain. To me, it opens up more like psychic. You want to call it psychic ability. You could call it that. But me, I'm very logical. So I'm like, really, you're just breaking it down and you're seeing the patterns and everything. And you're learning to anticipate. Like, I'll break something down. Okay, you're psychic. Okay. You definitely will have more empathy for others. But you're also going to start noticing where I'm like, that's what the biggest thing that I've noticed is there are a lot of people that have no empathy. How can you be so cut off from empathy? And one way is that you haven't dealt with grief. Grief is a big thing. Grief is a big thing. Grieving my mother the last almost 2 years, which still can't believe that, has, especially trying to approach it from this heart center. Is it really all the stuff that I say in my book? It really is the same kind of processing that we do. That's why I think there's like some real nuggets of wisdom in my book. It's really showing you a like a framework. It's not, and I tell you a little bit how to do stuff, but again, like learning, I can't tell you how to feel your feelings. Feel them, let them in. You know, a lot of people don't want to cry. I'm like, oh, you're going to cry. And so I've worked with people. I did some mentoring I called myself a coach for a little bit when I really got into this. And I was like, I don't want to hear everybody's, I'm so mean. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I'm so passionate about like healing yourself that it's like, I don't want to help you. Here's a book. Go help yourself. Then I realized that might be a little mean. Definitely. I can feel and sense everything. Physical pain inside people, and I can too, and their emotional pain. Absolutely. And so one of the things though, like I believe that when you're feeling that, and if you're engaging with that person, energy exchange, like you're taking on and helping to transmute that pain. That's what I personally feel. Well, I don't get into all that. I went burnout 2 years ago, became full. Yep, I did the same thing. I did the exact same thing. She said she went full hermit. Hashtag full hermit. I quit my job in 2019. I had a very good job at a big old company because my husband was driving me crazy and so were my kids, and I was at my breaking point. So, and then people at work, as a manager, I was like, it's like having kids. Come on, everybody. But I also hadn't healed and matured through some things. There's still some, I had a lot of, what'd you call it? Like a fake it till you make it kind of confidence in certain areas of like leadership and, you know, just knowing who I was and being confident to, I don't know, whatever it is at work, to feel truly confident. I worked for a woman who was she was kind of intimidating. I loved her though, still do. And she pushed me to be, you know, an even greater manager. But I'm telling you, taking that time off, I took off, you know, in 2019, right before COVID, I sat at home, I smoked weed, I looked into the woods behind our house for like a year, and I cried a lot. A lot. I really think I cried an entire year. So I was letting out a lot of stuff. There's a lot of ancestral stuff. Yeah, you see what I mean? Yay. So it's kind of like, I feel like people come into my group on Facebook and they want to start this work, and I'm like, I take things like 10 levels deep, maybe 20 or 30. Like, I will go deep into something. We are going to become divine beings. We're going to just heal ourselves and recognize that we are divine beings. That's our true nature. So that's what I believe. And I think you'll discover, I'm like, you know what? Do the work and you figure out for yourself. See what happens when you start taking away and facing all of the shadows. There will be a change in heart. So I often say that, and this perspective, this was a shift I had after I published the book. But I'm like, this is heart work. This is about healing your heart. Yeah. And then I also have a section in my book there's a section on healing your shadows, but I talk about collective shadows. And so that's where I'm having a hard time having mature conversations around things like racism. Like, that's a collective shadow. And it's not so much a shadow. We know it's out there, although some people say it's not. Sexism. What else? Well, I can't even think off the top because I'm on the thing. Let's look at it. But that's something that we're seeing again with the follow train. And it's like, you have to, at some point, acknowledge your own bad behavior. That's just the long and short of it. And then when you start doing that, you're going to probably go through a whole other thing of like self-loathing, or you have to really watch how you speak to yourself in your head and the thoughts that you have about yourself and how you feel about yourself, because it comes out when you speak to people. You can tell when people don't love themselves. I don't want to say don't love themselves. That sounds very harsh. But you can just tell when they have some unhealed pain that really points to feelings of worthlessness, unworthiness, insecurity. That's what almost everything that we're doing here, we come down to how we are feeling about ourselves and how we've allowed ourselves to be treated. That's what's kind of hard to deal with when you start getting into this and you're like years and years of allowing this person to do that and this person to do that and not speaking up and not being authentic. You want to beat yourself up, and it could, I've had ups and downs on this journey, but I'm always learning. And I know when I'm down in those dark moments, I think it's part of this is learning how to come in and out of those moments, understanding this is life. It's going to go up and down. When you're in those down moments, take that time to reflect. A lot of people don't want to sit with themselves. They can't. They don't even want to sit quietly. But that's something that you have to learn to do. There are multiple voices inside me, but the baddest one was my narc mom voice. Yeah. The last voice that was inside of me that I started looking at as like my different personalities, or however you want to call it. You could call it shadow aspects, whatever. But the last one that I was like, why can't I just felt like I kept falling back into old patterns. And it was this, what did I call her? I think I called her Miss Needy. And I'm sorry, Miss Needy. I have to apologize to myself. But it was that part of me, part of my being that had been deeply hurt in my marriage through emotional and verbal abuse. And I became, I was like, that realization that you were that person that you never, in your wildest dreams, imagined that you would become. So sometimes I cry, y'all. I might cry on video. Not today. I'm not going to cry today. I got you. I named them too. It helps. Whatever method that you want to, that works for you. And I'm like, that works for me. It makes sense. But she was the one who was, like the abused one. She was the abused one that was vulnerable and needy and whatever it is. I still can't put my fingers on it. But I had to learn how to forgive her. I had to learn how to love her. And I had to remember that, she was a step on my path. She is part of me and she's helping me learn about myself. What's this? Invite to join live. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I'm like, this happened before. Something pops up on the thing. Okay, sorry. Anyway, I took one of those really expensive coaching courses last year. It was a couple months after my mom died. Looking back, it was a way to keep me completely, not distracted, but keep my mind on something so that I wasn't in the abyss every day. It was very expensive. There's a whole other video I could do about that. But I did learn. I'm always going to learn something. I'm going to take away something from everything that I do. I just lost my train of thought. What was the point of telling you about that class that I took? Maybe it was for me to take a breath. I can't remember. Dang it was really important. I'll get back to it. Anyway, so it'll come back and then I'll jump back to that topic. But the collective shadows that I talk about, people don't talk this way about, and I know I'm coming with like a different weird language, but I find that it's a way to provide us a common language where we can talk about racism. We can talk about it through this language of shadow work without being hurtful. You have to learn. That's the other part of this work, is learning how to not only just love yourself and accept yourself. Oh, we were talking about past versions of ourselves. That's what I was getting at. But it's learning how to do all of that. The class she did an exercise that inspired me to make it my own. And think about past versions of yourself. Think about, and the way to do that, think about the milestone moments in your life. This is what she said. Think about those milestone moments, like things that changed you for better or worse. Maybe going off to college. Maybe you're the first person, that kind of stuff. Or it could have been a trauma. And then you just think about who that person is and like who they were, what they were going through. And it teaches you how to have an appreciation for who you were and the things that you were going through, and to have grace, to have patience for yourself, and to try to start looking at yourself try to start imagining your inner child and treating yourself like a little kid, gently, with patience. I didn't treat my child gently with patience sometimes, though. I was a mean mom sometimes. I yell, I can't help it. Yes, I can. But learning how to forgive yourself is a huge part of it. And it sounds so easy and it sounds kind of like mundane, but when you start digging into this work and you're like, and it's sometimes you can't let it go. We don't like to let go of our pain because it has become so comfortable and we can't imagine life without it. So that's what I'm helping you do, is to learn how to let go of the pain, let go of a need for an apology, let go of the need for revenge. The only way to do that is through love, though. You have to be clinging and have a connection to something so much greater that literally just transmutes all that. It's petty stuff. We don't need to hang on to petty stuff anymore because there's so much more. We don't realize that once you start doing the work and letting go of the stuff that no longer serves you, there's experience. Like I have felt feelings that I didn't even know existed. There's a higher way of living. That's what I'm trying to say. And you're going to have higher thoughts. For me, it has helped me to, I don't know, like be smarter. I don't know if that's the right word. Like I can just see things a lot better. I can, even at work, like my work, the way I go about work now is so, like I'm just so much better at what I do. And that's because I was taking all that stuff to work, all that emotional, unhealed stuff, fighting with my husband, people calling me all day, mom, calling me at work, running around, trying to get home to cook dinner, an hour in traffic, getting home, cooking dinner as soon as I got home, nobody eating it, nobody helping. Like it was just one of those, it just got bad for a while. We have worked through it. Anyway, I wanted to just come on here for a little bit. Are there any questions? When you do not have expectations anymore from us, it's a major relief. Yes, I missed your comment when you said it. So yeah, we're talking about shadow work. We're talking about, read my book, healing through shadow work. What I'm hoping is, like, I want to do the second version of this book. Maybe it's a new book, but I feel like it needs to be tightened up. Again, I wrote it during my grieving period, but I'm a writer. I did something that I know how to do. I know how to write stuff. I'm actually a technical writer. I have a degree in technical writing. So I know how to take all kinds of like information and pull it together so that everybody can understand it. That's what I did here. I took my healing experience and tried to put it in words that we can all understand and relate to. Very simply, but it's deep too. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. So that's it, y'all. Ooh, I'm getting messages. Hold on. Oh, this is a major gift. That's sweet. Thank you. Again, the train has helped me just feel seen. And I think that's what some people you just can't understand what it's like to go through life and feel, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Anyone can relate to feeling unseen and unheard, overlooked. Even if you're sometimes the smartest person in the room. Again and again and again and repeatedly, it can wreak havoc on your self-esteem and your self-confidence. And that's something that, again, I had a great example of a mother who was very, very loving, unconditional love. And I realize how special that is too. I'm very grateful for it. I meet a lot of people that don't have good relationships with their parents. But also, when you're grieving, for me, this grieving has helped me see that beauty, the real, true beauty of who she was. I mean, I saw it in life. She was my buddy. She was my best friend. She was my spiritual teacher. Taught me everything about learning how to find yourself, learning how to go after the things that you want. And she wasn't, she didn't have some great life existence. She was a teacher. She was many things. She was a cop. She was a teacher. She did so many random things. I wish she was here just to be on the live, because I think the more we share our experiences, everybody's sharing, the more we get to understand people that don't look like us, don't talk like us. Or maybe you had certain stereotypes about people. We all have those, or preconceived notions about groups of people. We all do. It's okay. But we just wanted to start coming from a place of wanting to understand, instead of looking at something as like, now what? It's where you're coming from. It's the mindset and it's the heart set. I call it the heart set. Not just your mind. We're not just in the intellect here. We have to connect our heads and our hearts. We have to. Because the heart is where we feel everything through our heart. So I don't need to keep going on about our heart, but it's important. Any more questions, comments? The other thing that I recommend, again, because just from my experience of talking about this for the last several years in my group over on Facebook, you don't just like, oh, I'm going to do some shadow work for a weekend, or I'm going to, and again, it's how you understand, or you've been told what shadow work is. This is my interpretation that I feel is very thorough and robust. It's robust. We're not just talking about intellectual, like, oh, I have shadows and I project them, and, oh, I'm sorry about that. That was my shadow talking. We're not doing that. Oops, somebody came to see me. Come here. This is Charlie. So I haven't been giving him enough attention. So here he is. Any other questions about this work? I just wanted to get people chatting. Definitely, we're not doing that. All right. Well, I'm going to go. I thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. Sabi, I would love to talk to you some more. I'll be checking out your page and definitely staying in touch. Like the people that really want to do this work, those are the folks that I'm like, okay, I'm there. What do we need? What can I do? Anywho, thank you all for joining. I hope everybody has a beautiful day, a happy new year. And I'm really looking forward to, like, get to know me, guys. Go to my page. Check me out. Check out the content. Well, don't check me out. Come on. Check out the content. All right. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye-bye.